Okay, their personality.
Yeah, so for their personality, these are literal animals. Well, not
Yeah,
even
not even
as
animals.
not even animals. They're just kind of
I
there.
mean, they're worms,
They're
so they
worms.
are
Yeah.
technically, I guess, they're not in the genus of or Animalia or whatever, but
Yeah.
they're like insects of the dumbest type. They're
Well, I mean,
worms.
they don't even have like good instincts too. Like the only thing that really they know is what pain is, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, so basically what they do, their personality. If you ever come across a purple worm, it's either moving or it's just sitting there
Digesting.
digesting. Yeah. So basically that's really the only time you'll ever see them is moving and digesting. But I will want to say this as for a DM, they literally eat everything. So they're not just going after people because they're tasty. They are tasty compared to a rock. But like they don't want just to kill you because they like killing you. They just your food. Like
And you're not. Yeah, your food. That's about it. And it may not even be that your food. It may just be that you were in the direction of a loud sound, and therefore they are just moving in your direction, eating everything that they are running into.
yeah,
They
yeah,
might not
no,
even know
exactly.
they ate you if you stayed quiet.
Yeah.
So yes. So I would say some general things to kind of that you can pull from this basic personality. One of which is they hunt via tremor sense, and this is kind of the basis of their personality. It's just because this is the basis because that's all they do. So all they do is hunt and sit around if they're not hunting. So this tremor sense thing is very much important in how they act because it's all based off of tremor sense. So what you're going to get from a purple worm is they're going to be moving either in an arbitrary direction or towards the last sound they heard. And I'm going to specify here that they have amazing hearing, but it has nothing to do with ears. They hear, but they hear it through the vibrations of the sound, not through the vibrations that are spread through the air. It's the vibrations that are spread through the earth. Those are different. It's still hearing because it's still auditory vibrations, but it's just a different medium.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
They
And
can. Oh, sorry.
go for it. I mean,
Well,
is it related?
I did want to say they could also be going back to their lair via smell. They actually have a very good sense of smell. Pretty cool.
Okay.
But if you do see them sitting just plump and just not really doing anything, you're probably in their lair. Or if you see one very quickly going back, like moving very fast, probably means it's going back to its lair for something.
Okay.
Which is pretty interesting. So
I
those
see.
are really the types of where you interact with a purple worm, just like
Yeah. Okay.
a fly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as the DM, when you're playing the purple worm, this is why we have the personality section. You would move the purple worm towards the loudest sound, right? But you have to think a little bit differently about how the purple worm is hearing. And so they're hearing via vibrations in the earth. And so a thump is a much louder sound to a purple worm than someone yelling or something like that. So that's kind of why this is in Dune. This is heavily featured in Dune. If you are talking in the desert, you're fine. But if you start walking around, you might not be fine. And that's because the sound in the earth of your walking is much louder than any vibrations your vocal cords are making. You don't really hear them because you're not in the earth and you don't really have tremor sense, but they're loud for the purple worm. So as the DM, you should be focusing the purple worm's attention on whatever is creating the most vibrations. And so that's walking around. That's maybe like falling down. If there's an explosion or something, obviously that's going to attract them.
That's going to raise
Multiple.
many eyebrows to purple worms. Like,
Yeah.
what was that?
Because they associate sound with things that make sounds. And things that make sounds typically are made out of material that they eat.
Well,
Organic.
they literally eat everything, so it's not really.
They eat everything, but they don't get nutrition from everything. So like sound denotes change, and change is typically caused by something, and what typically causes it is something that's alive. and so they go towards it. Food.
Yep.
So that's their personality. They go towards the biggest thump. Yes, and so I mentioned this in the basics, but you need to think of, like, the way the world thinks of them is more of a force of nature, and because
A natural disaster
because they do act purely on instinct. There is nothing else. And so in that sense, they can be very manipulated. Also, that means if you get attacked by one, that's literally the equivalent of a hurricane coming. It just happened to happen. Of course, hurricanes are not attracted by sound,
That would be
so there
scary.
is a slight difference.
Yeah.
But that would be scary. A few things about where they prefer to be. So, not their layers, just kind of like their personality in terms of how they move, I suppose.
Oh, like how they move, or like where they like to move?
Not where they like. Well, let me just say it. So they are faster on the surface, as we've said. They move 20 speed faster on the surface. But they actually prefer to be underground, and that is because the sunlight dries their mucus layer out. It dries them out. Like worms are moist, right? And worms, if you ever seen one on the sidewalk, they ain't doing too well.
Which, in this episode, we'll be talking a lot about the purple worm's biology. And you're probably thinking, like, oh, why does it matter it dries out? It has, like, armor and spikes and stuff. It's like, well, it needs the mucus to breathe.
Yeah, it needs the mucus to breathe.
Die if it dries up, it'll just suffocate. So, generally, it also likes, if it goes in water, you can find them in water, too. Like, in the ocean, just chilling. Like, on, like, the surface bed. So, that's pretty scary, too. I mean, that was in the older editions.
Let's save that for the layers.
Yeah.
But
but
in terms of like their personality, like they are going to be moving underground. So whenever they go anywhere, it's going to be underground, ideally. Also, they do typically know the size of something if they sense it, and so they will avoid anything that's too big to swallow. So that's just another little personality.
So dragons and like giants are safe?
Yes, pretty much. If they can't swallow it, they don't want to just sit there stinging it forever, so they're just gonna go towards the.
They could probably like swallow its leg, like imagine like a giant just walking and just a purple worm comes up, takes his leg, just snip, and then goes away. Like that would be.
It's kind of like the worms from King Kong.
I mean, God.
Remember they would just jump on your arm and then just like you can't move your arm.
Or I mean, I would think like a purple worm would just go up to like a giant. Go around his leg, and his teeth would just clip it off like scissors. And just like,
yeesh.
Yeah, that's a bad way to die.
That would be rough.
Because its teeth could definitely do that. Or a blender.
That's true.
Yeah.
Or it just pulls like all the muscle and skin off your leg.
Oh.
And they just fall down like in agony.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Okay, that's their personality, and their motivations is next. And it isn't going to be much different.
There is one little thing.
Yeah.
So talking about more of the biology, you're probably thinking like, well, do like purple worms like do anything else but eat, or do they want to do anything else but eat? Yes. They like to have children. That's really it. That's
every now and then.
Yeah, probably like once a year. So they have the genitalia of males and females.
They're hermaphroditic.
Yes. I'm not good with the big words. I'm only the barbarian. Yes. Basically, which means if you stumble upon two purple worms, they'll just be laying next to each other, and they'll impregnate each other. And then they'll just go somewhere. They'll just leave, never see each other again, and they'll go somewhere and lay the egg. So you can stumble upon purple worm eggs, which are very costly. Yep. But that's another motivation they will go after. But that's basically it. They want food, and they want...
Yeah, besides mating, they eat, they hear a sound, change direction, and then they eat.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah, basically. Pretty simple.